Martin Merev Shabbos. We're going to deal with an Indian that anybody who knows about Shabachrim when they go on Talucha and Shuas. This is one of the most common sikhs that are chazed. Remember the early days here in Yeshiva, I had the people calling us from the shuls. This was the, everybody keeps talking about Bametzra. Anyhow, we have been learning about it already, beginning yesterday. And today, we're going to talk about halacha that the Rambam speaks about, and omits, says that it's not a Bametzra, although we'll try to understand why and what. So, Rambam Hilchos Shchenim Perek Dalet Halacha Hey writes, Kol haroitza limker karka. Anybody who wants to sell land, Bo Shnayim, and two people came. Kol echad mehem oimar ani ekach bedomen elu. I'm going to give you the money you want. Vein echad mehem balametza, but neither have a taina balametza. Okay, so there, the Rambam now is going to create a hierarchy of preference. Who's to sell to? Im haya echad miyoshvei ha'ir ve'echad mishchenei ha'asada, shachenei ha'kedem. If this guy lives in the city, comes first. Shachem v'tamid chachem, tamid chachem kedem. Shachem and tamid chachem comes first. Korav v'tamid chachem kedem. A relative, and a tamid chachem comes first. Shachem v'karov, a shachem, a neighbor, meaning a neighbor in the city, and a korav, a shachem kedem. He ends up what? It was saying. Shegam zeh b'chlal ha'tov ha'yosher. This is also called Vasisa ha'yosher ha'tov. It's also tov ha'yosher. Reverses the words in the Psukim. Now, what happens if Kodam echad v'kana? What happens if the Korev, instead of the Talmud Chacham, paid and made a kinyan? Now, what the deal was done with him first? Didn't go to the Rav to ask, or he didn't think about the question, or in any of the other cases. The other guy can't push him off, can't remove him. Since they're not a balametza. This halacha specifically that was said wasn't given ella derech chasidus. B'nefesh teiva hi she'oisakach. A good soul does this. Okay, so we'll come to this. We'll come back to this Rambam in a moment when we see how the Rambam presents the din of Balmetzra altogether. But this is based on a sugi in the Gemara Bava Metzia, which the whole Balmetzra is in the Daf Ches. So there's a discussion of, it says in the Gemara, these cases, Shchenei Ir, Shchenei Asada, Shchenei Kedem, Shachem v'Tamid Chachem, Kedem, all these things. The Bayil Shachem v'Karev. The Gemara ends up saying, Tev Shachem Karev made Achrachik, that it's better a Shachem Karev. So Rashi learns similar to the Rambam, and he says that what does the Talmud Chacham have to do with being a Bametzra? Because if they were Bametzras, who cares? He's a Talmud Chacham. If you don't talk in Indian, it's an Indian. It's an Indian to help the Talmud Chacham. Taisus and other Rishonim there learn the Gemara is talking about Betzra. And Taisus says there, Ha milsa b'din hakdom b'kamari kishashneim etzranim. Mishachem niyametz mitzad ha'ir sheyesh le sada achoy b'eis yismuch alav v'shachem asada sheyesh le sada achoy k'mina ha'ir asmuch alav. He has the fields are connected, these other people are connected, they live connected. But the question is, what's the mile of a Talmud Chacham when it comes to a Metzra? I mean, it's a nice thing that a person Talmud Chacham got to mechaber him. What's a mile of a Metzra? So a beautiful, beautiful shot that Yosef Engel says. It says that a woman supersedes, it has a mile over a Metzra. and will if there's two bar mitzvahs, a woman will outweigh, because the reason is that a woman does not it's not her darka to go out in the street to do sales and to go buy and to this. So therefore, so therefore, it's better that therefore they have preference. So Beis Engel says, he brings a Gemara. Gemara says we got it. That Torah should be like a chain on like a necklace, which is the Gemara in Erev, that it should be seen and not seen. So he says so too. Rashi says the Talmid Chacham should not go out into the street. Sit down, sit and learn. Shouldn't be roaming the streets. So obviously from the time go, but for purpose, not to roam. So Beis Engel wants to say that a Talmid Chacham is like, in this case, like a woman. And the Gemara compares them to women. That Talmid Chacham should daimim loshen, it says in the Gemara in Yuma. This concept that they don't roam the streets, therefore they have a preference. Okay, it's a nice shot, but it doesn't answer all the other questions. But let's assume. But going back to the Rambam does not learn that it has anything to do with by Metzger. And it is only a kedima in people meet. You should be kaidim, you should go first. This is all this didn't by Metzger. Okay. Let's see how the Rambam presents Bar Metzger. What's Bar Metzger? So the Rambam of yesterday, very good days, says, somebody sells his land to someone. His friend or his neighbor that lives near his boundary. You can literally throw the buyer out. Again, Reuven owns property. Shimon is a neighbor whose borders his property. His field borders his property. Comes Levi, who is not a neighbor, and buys the property from Reuven. Comes Shimon and literally pays Shimon money, tells him, listen, you bought it for $100. Here's the $100. Get out of here. Now, the Rambam throws in a line here, which is very hard to understand, but he says it. A lot of discussion. If we want to get into this, we can sit for hours because there's so much to talk about. But we're going to keep it shorter and try to focus on the main point. This Shimon, this Levi, who didn't belong here, is the odd guy out, doesn't belong here to buy it. He is like a agent of Shimon when he bought it. Bein shemachahu, bein shemachar shluchay, bein shemachar bezdin. Yes, Baydin ben Ametz. Okay, this is not really relevant. Now, here he says clearly, even if Levi was a Talmid Chacham, B'shachim v'kar l'meikri, u'ben Ametz ha'maretz, rachik, ben Ametz ha'kedim, u'misalik is l'kei. Ben Ametz throws him out. Now, here the Rambam introduces the pasuk that he mentioned before. The Dabazem is Shum Shanema Vasisa Hayosher Vahatoyiv. Pasuk the Torah, you should do good. Amr Chachame Hayil V'Mecher Echa. Toyiv V'Yosher Shik Nemokim Zeh Ben Ametz Yeson Arach. Since it's one step, doesn't matter. So it's better that the buyer should be a Ben Ametz, and therefore Toyiv V'Yosher. It's good. Again, he reverses the words in the pasuk. Yosher, Toyiv V'Yosher. I mean, it is a lashon in Toyiv V'Yosher is a common lashon in Tanakh, so it could be that's why. But it's just interesting. The Rambam is not doesn't Sloan throw out words? I don't have an answer for it. I'm asking. Again, so what bothers here is a couple things. Just reading this rabbi. Why does he have to introduce this Ki'ilu Shliach Shel Ben HaMeitzah? Who cares? Chachamim made a takana. I mean, the bottom line, this is not a deraisa. This is a takanas Chachamim, and they made a takana based on, as he says later, they said that this is the right thing to do, and they were established that you got to get out. So what do you need this Ki'ilu Shliach Shel Ben HaMeitzah? And you can't imagine what this does in halacha. There's a lot of discussions about it. And if the second thing is, he stresses that the reason is the chacham. Okay, so today's Rambam that we're learning, when it comes to the idea of Talmid Chacham, Karev, and all that, he says that it's also Teiv Yashu. So why is it different than here? And he writes, so what? The Balametz is a creation of Teiv Yashu. So if it's Teiv Yashu, this is also Teiv Yashu. The Magen Mishnah seems to be bothered by that, and therefore goes into a beautiful understanding, and that the Indian Balamet says that our holy Torah wants to make people to be good people, tikkun amidus, and they should conduct themselves in a holy way, and it goes into the mitzvah kavod v'shatz mutalach, and the Sisei Yashar Teiv is the same thing that Shani Snag, Man Hoget, Teiv, Yisharim, and the Adam. You should conduct yourself in the right way. So he says that the Chacham therefore made decisions. Mehem Sha'osim and B'din Gomer, Mehem L'chatchilo B'derech Hasidus. V'akim B'devrei. That's it. They decided what goes and what doesn't. Didn't give a reason for it, he just explained. I mean, that's the problem. They have to say that. So, again, he says a reason. Because he's not a Balametza. So what? And then it's all based on Asisu Yashate. Okay. Then he says, now, he says another reason. Which sounds like what the Magen Mishnah is trying to say. Okay, so then what do you have to write? The main thing is that this was the way it was established. It was established derech Hasidus. And he's not telling you the facts that they're not Balametz because he already told you that. Okay, I mean, it's always, whenever the Rambam writes Ki'ilu, we always have to understand what that Ki'ilu means. Does it mean he's really not, but we made him as if? He made him yes? Or we only made him as if? What does he want with this kid? Then there's another interesting halach. Perek Yud Beis, yesterday's Rambam Halacha Hey, in the end, he writes, if somebody sells to one of the B'nai HaMeitzah, or he sells to one of his shutfim, one of his partners, who he has business dealings with, there's no shaykhis to this karka. In other words, we have a partnership in a business, we have a partnership in another karka somewhere else. If that happens, nobody can protest. Nobody can take it away from him. Even though he's not a Ben HaMeitzah, but he's a shutef in a business. Now, this is based on, again, it's based on the Gemara over there. It says Lashon, l'shutef less from Shemar. And Rashi says that, nope, Shutiv shemacha lechavei chelke b'soda shein shutim ba. In other words, he's a shutiv in here. So Rashi says you can't take him away because and tell him, well, your portion of the field is like, let's say the field 5 miles wide. So your portion is 3 miles from here. No. There's no clarity what you own. You own in here. So you are a shochem just like I am. But that's not the way the Rambam learns. The Rambam learns that I'm just a shutuf in any business with him. Now, the Ran brings the Rambam, and it's a Pirush HaGoinim. He says, Shutfim the Isker, they are Shutfim in business. He says, since we are Shutfim in business, there's also Asiyas HaYosher Atei. Kibnei Metzger. Okay, so now, in other words, we have Dargis. We have a Bar Metzger, which is a clear. We have a Talmud Chacham, and then there's a there's a Shutuf, which is equal to a Metzger. Like the guidelines become so blurred. So we still need we need to explain that now. Okay, so in the Sikha in Chelik Yutes, the Rebbe introduces a concept, but for some reason does not discuss this part of the shlichus part, and perhaps it's because that's a secondary step, and that's what we'll explain. There explains that the Rambam holds that Sisa Hayoshev Ateiv is not a kindness of the Lakeach, the way the Chacham Sakna, and as the way Rashi describes it, that it's something about the seller, but the Bar Metzra, by being a Bar Metzra, has some kind of a connection to this karka. And he quotes in the Mukhi Yosef, which other Rishonim will also bring him, but the Mukhi Yosef is definitely one of the prominent ones. He quotes this line. It says, "The chashvinan le bar metzger kilu yesh le ktsas kinyan begufa shokar." The Mukhi Yosef says that the bar metzger is one that we consider him as if he has some kind of a kinyan in this gufakar. That's why the Rambam's focus is not on the seller. Rather than is on the hoyul v'amecha echad teiv yasher sheyik the makom zeh ben ha'meitza. It's a schus for the ben ha'meitza to have it. It's not with the lekeach. It's not the ma'ila. It's not that lekeach. Although the Magen Mishnah puts the stress on the lekeach, but the kuda is the way that kuda was set up. There's a schus for the ben ha'meitza. Now, that tzricha is a kivei bracha la'atzmei. And I suggest people to learn it and go through it. Now that we're the Likutei Sichos project will get there, it's kedai to people to push it, sit and go through it, even unbelievable stuff. Now, the one aspect that the Rebbe does not discuss is this that he becomes ilu shluchish abalametz. So I would like to suggest that if you take the Rebbe's, you say based on this Mukhi Yosef, and say that that's the Rambam shit, as the Rebbe Medayik in the Rambam, that it's not just I'm a ben ha'meitzer. The Chacham don't just come along and tell you got to be a nice guy, and you got to give up your property. What do you mean? I have a dinei moment to say. You can't just throw me out of my property. I own this. You can tell me I have a mitzvah. You can come. Yeah, there's a concept of hefker beznet, but he didn't say that. They said it doesn't say anywhere that beznet is mafker. What says here is that beznet set up a monetary din. A din that it has to have a legal process. By metzvah is a legality, and that did not suffice saying. that it's a legality because you have some kind of ownership. And as the Rebbe says there later, that therefore the sale to the Lekeach is a lesser of a sale. Yes. But still, I bought it. When he told me I got to get rid of it, I own it. So that's why the Rambam introduces a second concept. That the Lekeach doesn't even, his buying is like on behalf of the Balametz. If I say, what do you need the first part? Just say that. So it's very logical, you know. If I go over to you and I tell you, I see a property over there, and I say, I want you to buy that property for me. Theoretically, it's just that I settle it, yeah. And you go and buy it for yourself. We just learned how luck is. Too bad. Too bad. It's not worse than yeah, I'm not a nice guy. You know, you won't want to do business with me again, but I have the right to buy it for myself. Of course. Especially if I'm using my own money, I can buy it for myself. So being a shliach of somebody else and making that shlichus mandatory will only work if that person has a right that I don't have. I'll give an example. You know, if a guy sends a shliach to divorce to Mekadosh Anish, and the other guy is Mekadosh for himself, he can be Mekadosh for himself because there's no shaykhs. But to divorce, he can't do that because he's the only one who can do that. You have to have some kind of a right to this that the other person doesn't have. So that would make sense, the two parts. A, the din of Ametzra is based on Yeshli Ksastinin, the Gufa Shokar. He has some kind of a right. Schus is the schio. Second, that gives him a koyach that he can turn the sale into a shlichus. Those are the two components that the Rambam requires in order for this halakha to take place. If one without the other would not work according to the Rambam. Okay, now, having said that, maybe this is what the Ram means when he writes that shut for the iske is also a sisa yoshratei. Now let's talk about a partner. I am a partner with you. So you want me, the Lekeach has a partnership. He has a relationship. Now remember, it's Ke'ilu Shluchei. You want, I can't, the Chachamim did not take a guy who has a connection to the seller on his own. Yeah, he has a strong connection to the seller. And as the Ran says, there's a Asiyas HaYosher Atei with him, and make him a shliach for somebody else. You know, they could have done it, but it makes sense why they didn't. That when you're gonna become a shliach of somebody else, and I have already a connection to this guy, why would the Rambam said no? That would make sense why the Rambam says, I'm a businessman with him, I have a connection to him. Don't give me a connection to another guy. I don't deal with that. I don't have anything to do with him. With him, I have already what to do. So somebody who has already a connection and an Asiyas HaYosher Atayv connection, you can't the Chachamim did not want to undo that connection and create it. Now you're connected to this guy because Asiyas HaYosher Atayv. I have there's Asiyas HaYosher Atayv with the Meicher and the Lekeach, and there's Asiyas HaYosher Atayv with Lekeach to the other guy. So, or the Meicher to the other guy, however you want to learn it. The fact of the matter is, my connection to him comes before my connection to somebody else, precedes the connection to somebody else. So that connection is not allowed, can't be changed. No, it's based on this concept. We can understand that when there is already a pre-existing condition of Asiyas HaYosher Atayv, we didn't create a new shlichus, a new connection. Or shlichus ultimately is a connection to a new person. And Rashi doesn't learn like that. So Rashi learns that as we're talking about, that it's in the shutfus in this property. Okay, Now let's go back to the original Rambam that we learned today. That in a case of a Talmud Chacham and a person, there is no such a thing as taking away the property. So that works based on this Mahalach, that there's no such a thing as just takes away your rights. So yesterday was my mitzvah. In order to create that it should take away my right, it has to go with a din of Tzas Bailus, as the Rebbe says in the Sikh. And a Mukiyesiv's Losh. Being that that's said, well, you're going to tell me that Talmud Chacham is considered that he has a Tzas Bailus in the whole world? I mean, to some degree, I'm either, yeah. But is that to me? Of course not. So you can't create this whole process that's necessary to evict the Lekeach because he's Kilu Shluchai. He can't become a Shliach. He's his own man. So in order to do this, you would have to first create that by metric concept of Ksas Bailus, and that's not shaykh to a regular case when they're not Matzronim. Is there a mitzvah? Sure. Is there a good thing? Yeah. Derech Chassidus. So that's why the Rambam writes, meaning like the Rebbe says, it doesn't have a Ksas Bailus here in this field. Can't create a Ksas Bailus without Talmud Chacham. And since you can't create a Ksas Bailus, so therefore, it's only a Derech Chassidus. And that's what it means. Now, perhaps that's what the Maggid Mishnah means when he says that there are the way they set it up. But he doesn't explain it. Could be the explanation. But either way, it fits very well. Anyway, a good Ner Shabbos. Everybody should be well and healthy and have a great Shabbos. Hatzlacha, Rabbi Moshe Perlstein. Sei gesund, stark.